Hey gamers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the top 10 best high-graphic open-world games that you can actually run on a low-end PC. If you're tired of lagging or missing out on amazing worlds just because of your hardware, don't stick around. These games deliver stunning visuals without melting your machine. Let's get started. On the number 10 spot we have Prototype 2. Prototype 2 is an action-packed, open-world game that puts you in the shoes of Sergeant James Heller, a soldier who's out for revenge against the man he believes is responsible for his family's death. Alex Mercer, the protagonist from the first game. Imagine being in a city overrun by a virus that turns people into monstrous creatures. As Heller, you're infected too, but instead of turning into a mindless beast, you gain incredible powers. You can shapeshift, absorb enemies to take their form, and unleash devastating attacks. The game's open world, set in a fictional New York City, lets you explore, fight, and experiment with your abilities. You'll be leaping across skyscrapers, gliding through the air, and smashing through enemies with brutal moves. The combat is fast-paced, and as you progress, you unlock more powers, making you an unstoppable force. If you're into games that offer a lot of freedom, a dark story, and the chance to be a one-man wrecking crew, Prototype 2 is definitely worth checking out. Or on the number 9 spot we have Saints Row the Third. Saints Row the Third is like stepping into an over-the-top action movie where you're the star and anything goes. Imagine a game where the rules of reality are thrown out the window and you're free to cause chaos in the most ridiculous ways possible. You play as the leader of the Third Street Saints, a gang that's evolved into a global brand. The game kicks off with you and your crew taking on rival gangs and a powerful crime syndicate in the city of Steelport. The story is wild, filled with humor, absurd situations, and memorable characters. What sets this game apart is its sheer fun factor. You've got a massive open world to explore, where you can do everything from participating in zany mini-games to flying around in jetpacks. The weapons are insane, like a gun that shoots octopuses, and the customization options for your character, vehicles, and gang are endless. Saints Row the Third doesn't take itself seriously, and that's what makes it so enjoyable. If you're looking for a game that lets you unleash your inner chaos with a smile on your face, this one's a blast. On the number 8 spot we have Just Cause 2. Just Cause 2 is all about creating chaos in the most explosive and entertaining ways possible. You play as Rico Rodriguez, a special agent sent to the fictional island of Panau to overthrow a dictator. But instead of a straightforward mission, the game gives you a massive open world filled with opportunities to cause mayhem. The first thing you'll notice is how big the world is. It's a huge tropical playground with cities, military bases, mountains, and beaches. But what really makes this game stand out is the way you move around it. Rico has a grappling hook and a parachute that lets you zip across the landscape, tether enemies or objects together, and perform crazy stunts. Imagine grappling to a helicopter, hijacking it in midair, then leaping out to skydive down to an enemy base, all while blowing things up with a rocket launcher. The missions give you plenty of freedom to approach them how you want, but the real fun is in exploring and causing destruction. The game rewards you for creating chaos, and the more you destroy, the more missions and weapons you unlock. If you're looking for a game where you can unleash your creativity in a giant sandbox full of explosions, Just Cause 2 is perfect. It's all about having fun and pushing the limits of what you can do in an open world. On the number 7 spot we have Grand Theft Auto 4. GTA 4 is a gritty, immersive open-world game that drops you into the life of Niko Bellic, an immigrant trying to make a fresh start in Liberty City, a place that's heavily inspired by New York. Unlike the previous games in the series, this one focuses on a more realistic and darker storyline, with Niko getting pulled into the criminal underworld as he searches for the American dream. Liberty City feels alive, with tons of detail in the environment and people going about their lives. You can explore the city, hijack cars, get into shootouts, or just take in the sights. The game's story is deep, filled with complex characters, moral dilemmas, and a lot of decisions that will shape how things play out. The driving and shooting mechanics have been improved, giving a more realistic feel. And while the game still has that classic GTA humor and over-the-top moments, it's more grounded than the previous titles. If you're into open-world games where you can live out a crime drama with a compelling story and a richly detailed world, GTA 4 is a must-play. It's not just about causing chaos, it's about experiencing a character's journey through a tough, unforgiving world. On the number 6 spot we have The Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man is an open-world superhero game that lets you step into the shoes of Spider-Man and swing through the streets of New York City. If you've ever dreamed of what it's like to be Spidey, this game does a great job of capturing that experience. You play as Peter Parker, but most of your time is spent as Spider-Man, dealing with the aftermath of the events from the 2012 movie of the same name. The game's story is set after the movie, with Spidey facing off against a new wave of villains and dealing with a virus outbreak in the city. One of the highlights is the web-swinging mechanic. You can swing between skyscrapers, zip around corners, and perform aerial acrobatics, all with a smooth, intuitive control system that makes it feel like you're really Spider-Man. The open world is a version of New York that's fun to explore, with side missions, collectibles, and random crimes that you can stop to earn experience and upgrades. The combat is fast and fluid, with Spidey using his agility, webs, and gadgets to take down enemies. You can chain together combos, dodge attacks, and use the environment to your advantage. It's not as deep as some other games, but it's satisfying, especially when you're surrounded by enemies and pull off a stylish takedown. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, or just looking for a game where you can swing through a city and beat up bad guys, The Amazing Spider-Man is a solid pick. It captures the fun of being a superhero, even if the story and missions are fairly straightforward. If you've made it this far into the video, then please consider giving this video a thumbs up. And also consider subscribing, as it really helps me out. Now back to the video. On the number 5 spot we have Saints Row 4. Saints Row 4 is like taking everything crazy and over the top from the previous games and cranking it up to 11. Imagine being the President of the United States, but instead of dealing with politics, you're fighting off an alien invasion. Oh, and you've got superpowers. The game starts with you as the leader of the Saints, now a global superpower, who ends up becoming the president. Things get even wilder when aliens attack Earth, and you're trapped in a virtual version of Steelport, the city from Saints Row the Third. In this digital world, you gain superpowers, think super speed, the ability to leap over buildings, telekinesis, and more. The story is as ridiculous as it sounds, but that's what makes it so much fun. The game doesn't take itself seriously at all, which means you can expect a ton of humor, parodies, and absurd situations. You'll be doing everything from fighting off waves of aliens to taking part in crazy side missions that could involve anything from robot battles to musical showdowns. Gameplay-wise, the superpowers completely change how you navigate the world. You'll be sprinting up skyscrapers, gliding through the air, and smashing through enemies with godlike abilities. It's like a superhero game mixed with the chaotic fun of Saints Row. If you're looking for a game that's all about having a good time, with no limits on how wild things can get, Saints Row 4 is a blast. It's perfect for when you want to let loose, laugh, and do things that no other game would ever let you do. On the number 4 spot we have The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is an open-world superhero game where you once again take on the role of Spider-Man, swinging through the streets of New York City. This game is a follow-up to the first Amazing Spider-Man game, with a story that loosely ties into the 2014 movie, but also introduces its own plot elements and villains. As Spider-Man, you'll be patrolling the city, stopping crimes, and dealing with some of Spidey's most iconic enemies, like Electro, Kingpin, and the Green Goblin. The game's story is darker than the first, with Peter Parker struggling to balance his life as a hero while uncovering a conspiracy that ties all these villains together. The web swinging in this game is more refined than before. Instead of just swinging from thin air, you now have to attach your webs to actual buildings, making it feel more realistic and giving you more control over your movement. Zipping around the city feels fluid, and there's a certain thrill in mastering the timing and momentum to keep your speed up. Combat is similar to the first game, with a focus on quick, acrobatic moves, dodges, and using Spidey's web to incapacitate enemies. It's satisfying, especially when you chain together combos and pull off some cool finishing moves. However, it can get repetitive after a while, as the enemy variety isn't as diverse as you might hope. The open world of New York is packed with side activities, from stopping random crimes to collecting comic book pages. While these add to the superhero experience, they can feel a bit like filler at times, lacking the depth or variety that might keep you engaged for long. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, enjoy open-world games where you can swing around the city and beat up bad guys. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is worth a try. It's not perfect, but it captures the fun of being Spidey, even if the game doesn't reach the same heights as some of the other superhero titles out there. On the number 3 spot we have Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 is an action-packed open-world game that throws you into the role of Jason Brody, a young man who ends up stranded on a dangerous tropical island while on vacation. The island is filled with ruthless pirates, deadly wildlife, and a crazy cast of characters, making it a place where survival is a constant challenge. The game starts with Jason trying to rescue his friends who have been kidnapped by pirates. As he explores the island, he discovers that it's not just a fight for survival, but also a quest for revenge. The island is a massive open world with a lot to explore: lush jungles, steep cliffs, and hidden caves all offer opportunities for adventure. One of the coolest features is how you can approach each situation. You can choose to go in guns blazing, stealthily take out enemies, or use the environment to your advantage. The game gives you a variety of weapons, gadgets, and skills that you can upgrade as you progress. Whether it's setting traps for enemies, using a bow and arrow for silent takedowns, or driving off-road vehicles, there are plenty of ways to tackle challenges. The story is driven by Jason's transformation from a scared tourist to a hardened warrior. The game features a memorable cast of characters, including the unpredictable and charismatic villain, Vaez Montenegro. The interactions with these characters and the choices you make throughout the game add depth to the story. Visually, the game is stunning, with a vibrant, tropical setting that makes exploring the island enjoyable. The wildlife and dynamic weather system add to the immersion, making each adventure feel unique. If you enjoy open-world games with a mix of action, exploration, and a gripping story, Far Cry 3 is a must-play. It's an exhilarating experience that lets you immerse yourself in a dangerous and beautiful world while crafting your own path to survival. On the number 2 spot we have Need for Speed Most Wanted. Need for Speed Most Wanted is a high-octane racing game that puts you behind the wheel of some of the coolest cars, with a focus on high-speed chases and street racing. The game is a reboot of the 2005 classic, bringing modern graphics and gameplay to a familiar concept. In this game, you're racing to become the most wanted driver in the city. You start with a modest car and work your way up by winning races, evading the cops, and upgrading your ride. The city of Fairhaven is your playground, and it's filled with various races, challenges, and hidden collectibles. One of the standout features is the open-world environment. You're not just racing in specific tracks. Instead, you have the freedom to explore the city, find shortcuts, and take on spontaneous races against other drivers. This open-world approach makes every race feel like part of a bigger, dynamic experience. The police chases are a big part of the fun. As you get more notorious, the cops get more aggressive, with roadblocks, spike strips, and helicopters trying to take you down. The thrill of evading them adds a layer of excitement to each race and gives you a real sense of being pursued. The game also features a wide range of cars, from sleek sports cars to powerful muscle cars, each with its own handling and customization options. You can tweak your vehicle's performance and appearance, making it uniquely yours. Visually, Need for Speed Most Wanted looks great, with detailed car models and a vibrant city environment. The racing itself is fast-paced and thrilling, with a good balance of speed, control, and adrenaline. If you're into racing games that combine fast cars, exciting chases, and an open-world environment, Need for Speed Most Wanted is a blast. It's all about the thrill of the race and the chase, making it a must-play for fans of high-speed action. Finally, on the #1 spot we have Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs is an open-world action game set in the vibrant city of Hong Kong. You play as Wei Shen, an undercover cop, trying to bring down the notorious Sun On Yee Triad organization from within. The game blends intense hand-to-hand combat, thrilling car chases, and a gripping story into a single experience. On Sleeping Dogs, you get to explore a richly detailed city, complete with bustling streets, neon-lit markets, and towering skyscrapers. As Wei Shen, you'll be involved in both criminal and police activities, and your choices will affect how the story unfolds. The combat system is one of the game's highlights. It's inspired by martial arts and allows for fluid, brutal fighting with a mix of punches, kicks, and throws. You can use the environment to your advantage, slamming enemies into walls, using objects as weapons, and performing stylish takedowns. It feels like you're in an action movie, with fluid animations and satisfying combat mechanics. Driving is another key element. You'll get to race through the city in various vehicles, from sports cars to motorcycles. The driving controls are smooth, making it easy to navigate through high-speed chases or simply explore the city. The story is engaging, with a mix of drama, action, and intrigue. Wei Shen's journey is filled with personal conflicts, undercover missions, and dangerous encounters. The game features a well-written narrative with strong characters and plot twists that keep you hooked. Sleeping Dogs also offers a range of side activities, from engaging in street races to participating in side missions and collecting various items. These activities add depth to the open world and give you plenty of ways to immerse yourself in the game. If you enjoy open-world games with a focus on combat, driving, and a compelling story, Sleeping Dogs is definitely worth checking out. It's an exhilarating ride through a city full of life, action, and intrigue. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, then consider subscribing to the channel. Drop a comment below with your favorite game from the list, or let me know if I missed any hidden gems. Until next time, happy gaming.